You don't think it's infected, do you?
Come on now, I pulled her off you before she could do any real damage.
Any real damage? Are you joking? I've been mauled. I'll be disfigured for life.
Ah, come on with the dramatics. It's not as bad as all that.
The face, Furious. She bit me in the face.
Look on the bright side. Everyone knows the ugly soldiers are the most ferocious.
Ugly will be the least of it. The beast looks rabid.
In that case, you'll have the pleasure of putting her down yourself.
I wish for you to try it, Screech. Hey, who's that then? Come on, stand where my good eye can see you.
Easy, Tull. That's the source hunter you're talking to.
She may have the look of a woman if you squint hard enough, but she's no more than a wild animal. We got reports of a strange-looking outsider skulking through the town with her bow drawn. I found her crouched behind a tree, taking aim at a fat old rat trotting along the city walls. I tapped her on the shoulder to see what was what, and the beast startled like a wild cat and lunged right at me.
Bit Tullia right in the face, she did. It wasn't pretty, and now it's got a chunk ripped off it to boot.
Enjoy it while you can, Ver. There's not another legionnaire in the cohort that'll have you if I go rabid.
Those bolts will embarrass a bridge crew. Get to shining recruits.
Sorry,
I'd say you ought to take her off our hands if you had the space. Though we couldn't guarantee she'd do more than piddle on the floor and maul your furniture.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! Not!
You don't think it's infected, do you?
Come on now, I pulled her up.
Careful, Source Hunter. If I keep my eyes off this cage, the beast's liable to risk an escape. She may have the look of a... We got reports of... I tapped her on...
Bit Tullia.
Enjoy it while you can, Ver.
I'd say you ought to take her off.
Careful, Source Hunter. If I keep my eyes off this cage, the beast's liable to risk an escape.
Sicilian stew! Again!
I'd say you ought to take her off our hands if you had the space. Though we couldn't guarantee she'd do more than piddle on the floor and maul your furniture.
Those bolts will embarrass a bridge crew. Get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny?
You call to Walgraf. He awaits your queries.
Come on now, I pulled her off you before she could do any real
Walgraf gives a curt.
Careful, Source Hunter.
Well, that's to be decided. She doesn't seem to be sick, despite Tully's moaning. We can't keep her here forever, but we can't well send her into the wilds again, can we?
Perhaps it'll be worth taking this stranger under our wing. She'll likely come in handy, if we can trust her to watch our backs.
After all, a fearless hunter might prove quite useful for our investigation.
Recruits!
Well, that's a relief, ain't it? We found a good home for her after all, Tull.
Heed me, Source Hunter. She's not good for anything more than cannon fodder. And don't turn your back on her when she's got that bow within arm's reach.
Bolts will embarrass a bridge crew. Get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny, Private?
Sir, no, sir.
Those bolts will embarrass a bridge crew. Get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny, Private?
Sir, no, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! Not! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew! Again! Attention! About face! barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian...
Source Hunter. I have heard tales both grand and terrible about the world of humans. I myself was caged one moment and freed the next by our kind. In Home Forest, every creature acts according to the nature of its kind. Birds frighten easily, badgers fear little. But amongst men, there are no guarantees.
About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian...
It is difficult for me to claim humanity as you do. I am still learning to see myself in the faces of those I meet. And those I meet do not always see themselves in me. It is strange to stand with one foot in the forest and the other in the city, Source Hunter. I am glad that now I have you standing beside me.
Sir, no, sir.
Those bunks that embarrass a bridge troll get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny, Private?
Sir, no, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Those books that embarrass a bridge troll get the shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny, Private?
Sir, no, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Those boots that embarrass a bridge troll get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny, Private?
Sir, no, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Those books that embarrass a bridge troll get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
Those boots that embarrass a bridge troll get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Attention! About face! Two barracks! Nice! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again!
Sorry, sir.
You think that's funny, Private?
Sir, no, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Those boots will embarrass a bridge crew. Get to shining recruits.
Sorry, sir.
Attention! About face! To the barracks! March! Recruits! That was sloppier than Sicilian stew. Again! Attention! About face! To the barracks! March!
You, again. Do feel free to depart from Sicily. If you must. Bravo! Figured that one out, did you? I haven't been stuck here for 2 years because we're being besieged by fluffy kittens, you know. Those brain-feasting freaks out there keep on coming. And it takes all the sword arms and all of Ahu's half-baked contraptions to keep them at bay. Keeping them at bay, that is all we do. Were that I could break their backs once and for all. How am I enjoying it? Are you spoiling for a fight, Hunter? Are you? Sicile stinks of fish, reeks of orcs, and on a good day, the wind disperses the stench of decomposing corpses. I can't remember the last time I had a proper piece of steak, and by now, I retch at the mere sight of sardines. So in conclusion, I am not enjoying Sicile. We are the pride of Rivellon, to be found and to be seen everywhere. We don't hide in the dark and lurk in corners like some I could mention. No, we protect the civilized from the barbaric, and we do so impeccably. I'd say they are looking for weak spots in our defenses. They can't make an attack over land for fear of Ahu's magical machines, so they're trying their luck by sea. They won't succeed, though. Not against the Legion. Yes, and he also spends most of his time in the guise of a cat, licking God's knows which body parts. Sects, sorcerers. He'll be seeing flying carpets next. I'm Captain Aureus, if you must know, leader of the Legion in Sicile. By which I mean I have the enviable task of commanding a battalion of walking dead. For I fear it may well be but a matter of time before the undead undo all my soldiers and turn them into drivelling hordes of their own misshapen number. Oh, still not finished with that sorry matter?
Source Hunter. Welcome, welcome. But certainly. What would you like to know? Oh, I am but a wizard, a guardian of man and beast, and indeed I am both. My body, like any other, is bound to temporal decay. But my spirit is a speck of light that shone forth from the eternal sun that is the cosmic soul. My task upon this earth is to protect the heart of nature, the very antithesis of which is the intrigue spun by demons and directors of the dead. Hence my involvement in Siciel. You see, my one desire is to witness a world in which every mother looks around her and purrs with calm contentment, for she knows that her chicks or children, her cubs or calves, will grow up without knowing the meaning of menace, the enfeeblement of fear. To my great regret, none of them purr as yet. Oh, but that's not a trick. It's a blessing. Or does it surprise you that I enjoy taking a feline guise? Such magic is a gift, Hunter. To tread upon the realm of instinct, even articulate speech, perhaps humanity's greatest asset, cannot give expression to something so inextricably innate. To be out in the night, to stalk on silent paws and hunt with only the moon as your witness, you couldn't possibly imagine the thrill. But of course it's handy to speak in more than meows. And I couldn't brew potions or make machines without opposable thumbs, this I freely admit. Let's just say I have found a way to enjoy the best of two worlds. Oh, that'll never happen. Granted, a witch could make the polymorph permanent if she'd enchant me in my cat guise, but I'll just have to be careful around witches, won't I? I'm my own wizard, you know, and I don't intend to become anyone's familiar. By all means. I can't say much more, but that they're madmen, all the more dangerous to us because of their alliance with what should be a natural enemy. You won't see me teaming up with a terrier in a hurry. Of course, I hope your investigation fares well. I can but piece together what few morsels fell from the grapevine into a rather disappointing meal, I'm afraid. They say a woman arrived in the King Crab Inn sometime after midnight. She retired to a room on the ground floor where she was soon joined by a man who had been nursing the same cup of wine for hours. I say man and woman because both of them were cloaked and recognized by none. About an hour later, another figure arrived, headed for the same room. Soon after, a terrible commotion erupted and the thundering light of magic was witnessed by the few remaining patrons. It took a while for the landlord to pluck up the courage to enter the mystery room. When finally he did, he found Jake there, dead. How and why he came to be there, no one knows. But I had a good look around the scene of the crime before the Legion barred anyone from entering. The traces of magic I felt were vile. Source, no doubt. I myself have none, even though the rest of the town has already mentally tried and convicted Jake's wife, Esmeralda. Now, it may well be established that she is in fact the guilty party. I'm not claiming that I'm certain she's innocent, but let's just say that if I really thought this murder case would be so very easily resolved, I wouldn't have sent for source hunters. His body is gone, replaced with that of a sheep. This is all very disconcerting, to say the least. Grave robbery reeks of necromancy. Could Jake have been involved with those that raise the dead? It seems too improbable to be true, but nevertheless. You're onto something, Hunter. Do follow the scent and see where it leads you. And what might those be? One of them failed? Who is the mongrel that dares to question my engineering expertise? I take it the mutt in question was referring to the Sparkmaster 5000. It isn't failing, it just became... well, it became self-aware. Frightfully annoying when that happens. You know what? Here's the remote access device with which I used to control it. There's a manual for that somewhere around here, too. Yours, if you can find it. I really should invite Victoria one of these days, so she can help me organize my mess of a library. Those who are raising the dead dwell among us. They simply must be. But even though I've spent many a night leaping from tree to rooftop, watching on as citizens stagger home from the inn or simply burn the midnight oil, I haven't spied a single soul worthy of true suspicion. The enemy is wily. They know us better than we know them, and they've found ways to avoid both detection and distrust. Yet I am somehow convinced that you may succeed where the Legion and I have failed. Call it instinct. You have a flair for understatements, Hunter. I'm sure they are but a minor nuisance in the eyes of a born warrior. But to the Legion they are green-skinned death incarnate. Until they conclude what mischief they intend to see through, or, less likely, they are conclusively defeated, we can but bar the gates and hole up like mice while the cats are on the prowl. Oh, a mere trifle for one with the intellect of a feline and the engineering skills of a human. You basically construct a classic ballista, add a 100% legally obtained self-regenerating source of destructive magic to it, and Bobcat's your uncle.
Source Hunter. A sight for sore eyes, if ever there was one. I know you're probably knee-deep in that awful murder investigation, but truth be told, the Legion could use your help as well. We've been conducting a series of expeditions into undead territory, and I'm afraid I must admit they've met with very little success. Lieutenant Selenia, at your service. I'm Captain Aureus' second-in-command. But rest assured, I am a lot more kindly inclined towards source hunters than he is. Now, I certainly don't mind a bit of healthy competition, and even rivalry between our orders, but I, for one, have no intention of looking a gift horse in the mouth. And that is exactly what your presence in Sicil is, source hunter. A gift and a blessing. Only heroes such as yourself can make a true difference in this troubled part of the world. Such is my honest conviction. The undead. I pitied them at first. Many among them were once kind and innocent civilians of Sicil, after all. No longer do I feel that way, though. Too many of my soldiers have fallen. The dead must be put down without mercy, if we can. The bravest among my men and women tell me they are weaker in the west and stronger in the east. So I suggest you head westward if you want to flex your muscles and test the waters before blindly diving to your death. I shall be very glad to share what information I can give you. If ever we want to be victorious in Sicil, we have to track down the root of the undead uprising. Under the Pact of Volunteers, 3 expeditions were launched to do just that. But so far, none of their participants have returned. 3 landmarks were chosen for further investigation. The lighthouse, the burial mounds, and the old church. Places fraught with danger all. There's a lighthouse to the west, up on the bluffs, overlooking the sea. No man has gone there in a decade, and yet a light shines from its pinnacle every night. The locals say it's haunted, and half a dozen legionnaires have gone to find out whether or not those are mere tall tales. I fear for their safety. There are ancient burial grounds to be found north of the city. As good a place as any to start looking for necromancers, wouldn't you say? A local archaeologist offered to tag along with the men. Here's hoping his knowledge on the subject may prove to be of use to them. There's a church to the northeast of here, built atop the very place where once stood a temple dedicated to the source. The Sicilians razed it, and built a church for the 7 instead, supposedly to symbolize the victory of the gods over evil sorcery. All superstitious mumbo-jumbo, if you ask me. But when the dead rose, that is when they were first spotted. Hence the expedition. So I did. The Pact of Volunteers. Many legionnaires will do whatever it takes to go home, which is why I personally sign their transfer orders the moment they make it back from a mission behind enemy lines. The chances of survival during these sorties are only about 1 in 10, you see. So my soldiers are free to volunteer, and if they are successful, they just bought themselves a boat ride home.
What? Oh, it's you. Come closer then. Closer, huh? My ears aren't what they used to be. Nor my eyes, for that matter. Yes, hello, Source Hunter. Our city welcomes you. My elf? What elf? Oh, myself. I am Cecil, Mayor of Sicil, and husband of the stately Cecilia. I've been the mayor here for decades, and I'm quite eager to see Sicil through these difficult times. Yes, very difficult times indeed. Oh, what? Oh, you mean Sicil? Very difficult times indeed. As though the death of Jacon by source magic no less weren't enough. We're also facing all sorts of brutish intruders. The undead have overrun all but one northern trade route, while the orcs are making a habit of savaging our beaches. That's not to mention that at the top of this whole caboodle, there's rumors of some new religious sect or cult or some such sticking its tendrils into the innocent, seven-fearing folks of Sicil. And, while we're on the subject of troubles, I myself have a private matter I'd like to bring to your attention. It involves a magic relic I rather foolishly sought. A weapon called the Staff of Pergamon. What of what now? Oh, you're speaking gibberish. Ah, you mean the Staff of Pergamon. Yes, yes. I was expecting a shipment of weapons, and among the cargo was this very powerful, very rare staff. I managed to place the order through means somewhat, atypical to a government official. Cecil proved an old fool, though. For the merchant slated to deliver it to me has just informed me that the damn thing has gone missing. I fear it may have fallen into the wrong hands, and I wonder if you could retrieve it for me. His name is Conrad, captain of the Tide Splitter, a merchant ship still docked at the Sicil harbor. You can talk to him if you think it'd help, but I'd quite like to avoid getting the Legion involved, if you don't mind. The staff itself contains a shard of an ore, highly valued for its use in the weapons of war. I know use of the material to be forbidden, but I was desperate to do something to aid the townsfolk against the undead. Well, I do believe that's something your parents ought to have discussed with you long ago, Source Hunter. But I suppose if you really don't know, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least explain the basics. Ah, you see, when a lady and a fellow find each other rather nice, well, rather more than nice, they occasionally, well, they, Oh, this is nonsense. I'm the mayor for the seventh sake. I can't be bothered to chat all day about the birds and the bees when Sicil's under siege by orcs, undead, and cultists. Oh, yes, the Fabulous Five. Aren't they simply fantastic? I'm sure they'll get the job done in no time, especially with your expert hand lent to their cause. That machine Ahu built is an abomination. It must be stopped at all costs. I bet the wizard himself could provide some advice regarding how to destroy it. He's the mad scientist who crafted it after all.
Spiritless? Perhaps wrestling an earth elemental?
A source hunter! Oh, what a sight for sore Sicilian eyes! Me? I live alone here in town. Used to be that my younger brother Tom and I were practically joined at the hip, but that's all changed now. Oh, he's always been something of a rascal, calling his petty hooliganism adventuring and endlessly worrying my poor mind. Oh, but of course, I've always loved that scamp to bits. For my part, I encouraged him to join the Legion. Even got him sparring with Captain Aureus now and then. But then those blasted Fabulous Five came into town. That band of... I don't even know what to call them. Well, they're his heroes, and I simply couldn't prevent him from going to see them. That one meeting was all it took for Tom to run off with them on some mission to God knows where.
Move for cheese. The excuse is more holes than a slice of this fine Gorman there.
Gods! What is going on here? First I have to shoo away a creeping white tomcat, and now there's a perfect stranger in my bathroom. Get out, will you? A magical pyramid, eh? Frivolous and lecherous magic, more like. Leave my house, afore the divines punish you for your aberrant ways. Out! No! If she
you
soaks in
please!
flower stink much
This
longer,
room is
dear will
private.
smell this lady from a field away. I'll save a leg of something good for when she begins to starve.
Actually, why don't you
Don't
join
just
her?
stand
Not
there.
for any
Go!
titillating reasons.
Away with you!
But because you could do with a dab of floral perfume about that quaintly odorous physique of yours.
What are you still doing here? Begone! Out! Now, if you please! This room is private. Don't just stand there.
What's
Go!
that gleam?
Away with you! What are you still doing here? Begone!
Interesting devices, these pygmies among pyramids. They may be small of stature, but their potential is gigantic. Deceivingly clever. It is a trait all demonic machinations share. Yes, demonic. So very obvious to the trained eye. These apparatuses have been forged among the voids of the outer realms, where the light of stars does not reach. You do well to treat them with the utmost care. Perhaps it would even be for the best if you sling them into the reaches of infinity that surround the shelter plane. Better safe than sorry. It is an uncommonly trite thing to say, but it applies to all things demon-dreamt and devised. So I shall. Always remember, Hunter, always, that when demons are in play, you are the hunted, and that it takes stupendous cunning and strength to escape their snares. The very moment you are certain you have them in your grip, that is the moment their traps spring, and it is their grip that shatters your soul. Dueling with demons is like playing chess against an opponent with queens for pawns. They sit and grin, while your pieces slip in the sweaty fear that drops from your beleaguered brow.
Not the move for cheese. The excuse is more holes than a slice of this fine almond bread.
Heavenly herring! Delicious dog meat! Come now, Alistair. Surely you've met your match once or twice.
Ha! The closest I've got to my match is when
Never saw you in the king crab before. You're welcome to scratch me behind the ears if you like. I won't scratch back. I am Unsinkable Sam. At least that's what they call me around here. Used to be a ship's cat, but the clipper I was on sank, and I was the only one to wrestle himself free from the waves. The people here were kind and took me in. Been the king crab's foremost patron ever since. A magnificent ship she was. Used to belong to a pirate, I was told. Unlike me, she didn't prove to be unsinkable, though. We hit the cliffs right neath the lighthouse. Not very apt a name for that building, I must say, for no light was shining from it. The moment I hit the water, I writhed around like I would on a hot tin roof. By some miracle, I managed to reach the beach, covered in kelp and smelling worse than a fish's funeral parlor. But I was alive, and that was more than anybody else could say. So I was. What friends I had. They drowned alongside the rats I used to hunt in the galley. And there I was, all alone. Not that I have it bad here, mind you. I've milk and fish aplenty. Most folks will pet me kindly, and when one of the village girls holds me tight against her ample bosom, I purr up a storm. But I do long for a companion of my own kind, and in that regard, there is no one like Maxine. Maxine, the mayor's darling pet. So gentle, so fair a feline. The grace of her whiskers, the subtle palette of dyes in her sable coat. She's one of a kind, that cat. She likes me. I know she does. But when I declare my love, she backs away. I don't know why. I have serenaded her and braved many a bucket of water for my efforts. But for some reason, she is not to be swayed. By all means.
The closest I've got to my match is when I linger over long.
People make a fuss about them because they endanger the lands around the city. They never bother me when I'm out for my monthly walk, though. But still, I do test them. I mean, they're so unnatural, aren't they? Cats can have 9 lives, but humans are only entitled to 1. Oh, don't mention orcs to me. Worse than dogs, that lot. Sank Walrus Willie's boat right from under him. Best anchovy fisher in the world he was. A loss to us all.
Whatever happened to that troop of eager imbeciles we sent to the northern cave?
Do I seem like the sort who concerns myself with such things?
You'll be concerned enough when you realize that you won't have to work.
Pay the big cheese on your book with a wheel.
Oh, golly gosh! One who flaunts the highways and byways of silly old Sicile with the easy elegance of a puss with her tail in the air. I do declare such a sight is rather rare around here. But where are my manners? I am Maxine, and you must be one of those hunters one hears so much about. Charmed, I'm sure. I'm the mayor's cat, don't you know? Born and raised on velvets and viands of most exquisite varieties. Maxine rhymes with queen, after all, and dearest. That is hardly a coincidence. Oh, he's a darling old Tom, isn't he? Paws over tails in love with me, and who can blame him? The feeling's, well, it's rather mutual, actually. But that pet of a puss simply doesn't have a penny to his name. At the risk of sounding as shallow as a spaniel, I can't but admit my love does not come unconditionally. What if we were to have kittens, he and I? They'd jolly well starve, wouldn't they, with an alley cat for a papa? Oh, dear Sam, he's such a good old bean. But he does rather reside at the bottom of the scratching pole, doesn't he? And dear me, one must have at least a mite of standards.
Ah, cats. Beauty, such grace they have. Magnificence incarnate.
Not a lot of meat on her, is there? Someone ought to fatten her up if they want to get a good meal out of her.
Get it while it's fresh. These packs are only out.
I think I'll sleep by the fire tonight, once the regulars stagger home. Aye, so there's the rub. I am but a stray, and she is the mayor's cat. Oh, I do understand her, I do. She wants a Tom of means, not privation. One who brings home the sardines and the occasional halibut. Would that I still had my collar. Such a marvel it was, as bejeweled as the night sky with precious stones, said to have once been worn by a far-off Maharaja's best hunting cheater. Like the king of all cats I looked when I wore it. A gift bestowed upon me by a princess whom I had kept company during a long and perilous voyage. A precious band of gemstones, lost as I was tossed around by the waves like a ball in a game of catch. Among the waves it remains, I imagine. Worn perhaps by a crab who fancies himself a Caesar with it. If only I could be the Caesar again, and Maxine my Caesarina.
Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for a joyride?
No, he didn't. He drove it straight to the pub and back.
Oh, and don't forget the time you got caught passing a love note to the Lord Captain's wife.
That one we never sailed to get the ball anymore.
Speaking of you, that really thinks that Orky charm loves him.
I wouldn't let it all win 500 yards of my loving nature.
Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for the joyride?
No, he didn't. He drove it straight to the pub and back.
Oh, and don't forget the time you got caught passing a love note to the Lizard Councillor's wife.
That why we never sailed to get the ball anymore.
Speaking of you, that loopy legionnaire really thinks that Orky charm loves him.
I wouldn't let it all win 500 yards of my loving nature. No, he didn't. He drove it straight to the pub and back.
Oh, don't forget the time you got caught passing a love note to the Lizard Councillor's wife.
That why we never sailed to get the ball anymore.
Speaking of you, that loopy legionnaire really thinks that Orky charm loves him.
I wouldn't let it all win 500 yards of my loving nature.
Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for a joyride?
No, he didn't. He drove it straight to the pub and back.
Oh, and don't forget the time you got caught passing a love note to the Lizard Councillor's wife.
That why we never sailed to get the ball anymore.
Speaking of you, that loopy legionnaire really thinks that Orky charm loves him.
I wouldn't let it all win 500 yards of my loving nature.
About the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for a joyride.
No, it's him. I wouldn't let it all win 500 yards of my loving nature.
Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for a joyride?
No, he didn't. He drove it straight to the pub and back.
Oh, and don't forget the time you got caught passing a love note to the Lizard Councillor's wife.
Is that why we never sailed to get the gore anymore?
Speaking of youthful gore, that loopy legionnaire really...
Ahoy,
thinks that-
sailor! Are you enjoying the fresh winds of Sicile? Aye, that Cecil's worse than a rooster, crowing all around town about matters he ought to know are better kept quiet. Well, if you know about the staff, I suppose you also know it's gone without a trace.
Lizard Councillor's wife.
Is that why we never sailed to get the gore anymore?
For my part, I haven't a clue where it could have gone. Overboard, stolen, or vanished into thin air. Though I'm quite eager to see it return. I've got a reputation to uphold, you know. Wouldn't hurt to ask some of my men. I tried myself, but sailors tend to be a bit tight-lipped when they're afraid of getting one another in some trouble. Seaman's code, you know. Not to rat out a fellow sailor.
Speaking of you, shores here in Sicile, bah! Of all the cursed hunks of rock to land on, Conrad chooses this one. Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for a joyride? Was too busy dodging fireballs to notice anything myself. But ask around a bit. Could be one of the other men spied something I didn't. Chancellor's wife.
Is that why we never sail to Ythel Gore anymore?
Now you mention it, I noticed Dietmar, a fellow merchant travelling with us, carrying a sealed box off the ship during the attack. At the time, I figured he was just escaping with his personal effects. But it could well have been that staff you're talking about. Well, sure, I saw him slip off the ship, but I haven't a clue where he could possibly be now. Captain Conrad's the man to ask for such matters.
Speaking of youthful gore, that loopy legionnaire really thinks that orky charm loves him.
Heard anything about the whereabouts of the magic stick yet? What? That weasel has it for sure. But I'll tell you this. I didn't speak of that stuff to a soul on board. If he's the one who took it, he must have known it was on the ship before stepping foot on her decks. I'm sure he'll make a run for it, probably by boat. I'd look for him on an out-of-sight beach somewhere. He's probably there now, trying to launch a vessel in private. If he hasn't already escaped, that is.
The loopy legionnaire really thinks that orky charm loves him.
I wouldn't let it out within 500 yards of my loving nature.
Psst! Ever hear about the time the captain took the Duchess of Federal's carriage for a joyride?
Ha! No, he didn't. He drove it straight to the pub and back.
Oh, and don't forget the time he got caught passing a love note to the Lizard Councillor's wife.
Is that why we never sail to Ythel Gore anymore?
Speaking of youthful gore, that loopy legionnaire...
Red and orange, yellow and green, the finest veggies size seals ever seen.
Aaron has as many friends as the man with many cheeses. Be the big cheese on your block with a will of the good stuff.